Alright, so as I was recording these lessons, I realized that a lot of the information that we cover, you won't be using it right away. And when it comes to learning the basics, I truly believe that less is more, and the last thing that you want is information overload. So I decided to create a simplified version of some lessons that will be covering only what you truly need to understand the basics. And don't get me wrong, these simplified versions are not replacements for the main lessons. They just play a role of a reference point where you can always come back if you need to quickly get to the basics. So this is intervals simplified. An interval is simply the distance between two notes. So right here we have a C and E. That is an interval, and it sounds like this. And this interval is known as a major third because the first time we encounter it is between the first note and the third note of the major scale. As you can see, it's 1, 2, and then 3. So that's why we call it a major third. We mainly have 12 different intervals with specific sounds, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll only give you 3 intervals that you need to memorize to understand chord structure. So the first interval that you need to know, and probably the most important, is already on the screen, is the major third. And it sounds like this once again. The major third is the one that gives the major triad that major sound. And as you can see, if I add this G, we have a major triad. After the major third, the next important interval that you need to know is the perfect fifth. And the perfect fifth, to get it, we count 5 notes in the major scale. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is our perfect fifth. So the distance between C and G is a perfect fifth. Now, the reason why you need to know the perfect fifth is similar to that of the major third. Again, it helps us understand chord structure. Again, if I was to add this E, we are back to our major triad. And let me just put the numbers here. So we have 1, 2, 3, this is the third, and then 4, 5. So that's why we call it the fifth. And then finally, we have the major seventh. And again, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes in our major scale, right there. A quicker way to build a major seventh interval is to simply go a semitone below your root. So we have C, we go to B, and then after that we move it up an octave. So this is our major seventh interval. And then if you want to get a major seventh chord, we simply add the third and the fifth. So now we have the major seventh chord. Now, the reason why we need to know these intervals is because they'll help us understand 90% of our chords, if not all of them, because they have variations. Let's go back to our major triad. We covered that in a major triad, we have a major third. 1, 2, 3. Now, a variation of the major third would be the minor third. So we just take it down by a semitone. And now we have a minor triad. So, major third gives us a major triad. Minor third gives us a minor triad. And the same thing applies with the fifth and the seventh. For example, let me bring back the seventh. And then we'll bring back the numbers as well. When I take this seventh, which is the major 7, and then drop it down by semitone, that interval will become a minor 7 or a flat 7. So now we have a minor 7 chord.